I want to welcome everybody to this demonstration. Attorney Sue Ann Robinson has filed for the civil lawsuit to remain in North Carolina. Before we get started with this demonstration, let me get my copyright disclaimer out of the way. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. What that means is that everything that you hear in this demonstration is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Let me give everybody a few more minutes to pull up. Let me invite all of my Facebook family and friends to the demonstration. Salute to the replay gang. Salute to the chat. Salute to all of my moderators. Salute to you, him, and her. I want to welcome everyone that's tuning in by way of Facebook. I appreciate you all for pulling up. Now, I'm coming, y'all. Let me see who we got in the chat. Salute Miss Wish. Salute Andrea, Colton, Marty, Mel, Jacqueline, Mama Boo, Positive Vibes, The Full Life, Allison. Salute to the chat. We are the receipts. Salute to the chat. And if you all are interested in attending this year's third annual meet and greet, it will be in Charlotte, North Carolina. The dates are October the 23rd through October the 27th. Time is running out. Please see Marty. Please see Marty for more information. And if you're interested in purchasing some shirts, please see Miss Parker. Salute, Rashawn Tate. Salute. Salute, Nikki Lynn. I'll get back down to the chat in a minute. If you have a comment or a question that you would like for me to get to, just put it in the super chat. So, the FBI, the DOJ, Nazir Wiggins, Elise Hyatt, and Winter Donovan, they've already filed for this civil suit to be dismissed. They've already filed for the civil suit to be dismissed. Kalia, out of everyone that has been served, out of all those that have been served, Kalia Cook is the only one that hasn't asked for the civil suit to be thrown out. Malik Dyer and Dejanay Jackson, whom we know as Imani Green, they haven't been served the civil lawsuit complaint yet. But those that have disputed it and asked for it to be dismissed are the DOJ, the FBI, Winter Donovan, Elise Hyatt, and Nazir Wiggins. Elise Hyatt and Winter Donovan, and I do believe the DOJ as well as the FBI, but I'll get to the DOJ and the FBI. Elise and Winter, they're asking for it to be dismissed because they feel as though this is case, or they feel like the civil lawsuit should be filed in Mexico. Nasir, he's not denying it or disputing where it should be held at. Nasir is disputing it by just saying, hey, I didn't cause her death. I wasn't involved. But let's talk about Elise and Winter. Them asking for it to be dismissed because of the jurisdiction isn't North Carolina. The jurisdiction is Mexico, being as though this crime took place in Mexico. Now, here comes Sue Ann. Here comes Sue Ann filing that it remains in North Carolina. In my opinion, Winter and Elise, their claim to have this dismissed because it's in the wrong jurisdiction. Elise and Winter is playing checkers. They're playing checkers with it being dismissed. Sue Ann has said that this is the proper jurisdiction. Why? Now, I want us to look at it. It's two reasons on the table. Shout out the PM channel. Shout out the PM channel. When y'all get a chance, go check out PM channel's latest demonstration that she dropped today. So, where was the crime committed? Where was this crime committed? Okay. We know that the crime was committed in Mexico, right? Is Mexico the proper jurisdiction to handle the civil lawsuit? Now, this is Sue Ann's reasons, and I agree with her reasons. When I done this demonstration, when Winter and Elise first filed for dismiss, I said what Sue Ann has said. Sue Ann is saying, keep the civil lawsuit in North Carolina because all of those that are involved in the civil lawsuit complaint are residents or former residents at the time that the civil lawsuit was put in motion. All of those that were involved in the civil lawsuit are residents of North Carolina. I believe that the judge will definitely grant Sue Ann's motion. Leave it in North Carolina. Those that have been served are definitely residents of North Carolina, because here comes the kicker. If Mexico has to be the jurisdiction for the civil lawsuit, and we already know what Cabo 6 gonna say, how do they expect us to go to a foreign country? How do they expect us? This is Cabo 6 defense team right there. It's in a foreign country. So we filed for a motion that it gets dismissed. Because here's the thing. The civil lawsuit has to be granted. Now, let's cross this road. What if the judge decides to throw out the civil lawsuit based on the jurisdiction being wrong? Let's say that happened. Anything can happen. All right. The next step for Sue Ann would be to file for the civil lawsuit in Mexico. That's the next step. Well, just like Cabo 6 had a right to file a motion for it to be dismissed. Now, I don't know Mexico's law. And I'll make sure I do a follow-up on this demonstration as far as if anybody have the answer to that, please let me know. If anybody has the answer to Mexico's laws when it comes to civil lawsuit in a case like this, because Mexico law might be that they can't file for a dismissal. And here's the thing, Cabo 6. In my opinion, you definitely would want the complaint. You definitely would want any court procedures done here in the USA, because Mexico operates completely different from how the United States operate. Now, y'all can take y'all chances with Mexico if you want. I recommend that it stays here. Y'all could try to fight it. Y'all could keep trying to fight it. But the civil lawsuit is going to take place. It's going to take place. Now, you would hope, Cabo 6, y'all will hope that the judge grants Sue Ann the motion of it remaining. All right. And I'm going to take a few comments and then I'm going to get back because I don't want to lose focus. But I don't know if y'all dropping something as far as how Mexico's law works. Her says they need to arrest them like they just arrested those young men. They took that young man's life who was pledging that fraternity. Exactly. We Are the Receipt says bingo. Nikki says they fled Mexico to circumvent justice. They then tried to argue it's the wrong jurisdiction. Also, the treaty doesn't allow the other 5 to be charged criminally. Okay. Salute to the chat, y'all. Salute. Positive says maybe they should take their chances in Mexico because Mexico's jail ain't for the faint, and that's where they need to be. Tell me about it. So now we got a situation, and I will drop the link. Later on in this demonstration, and I will get to the chat. Just give me a minute, y'all, because if I entertain that chat and other things, I'm going to lose focus on my demonstration. So now we're dealing with the civil lawsuit. Where do Cabo 6 want this civil lawsuit to take place? Where do they want this to take place? United States or either Mexico? My opinion, Cabo 6, if you all are watching, go ahead and get the civil lawsuit over with. Because as y'all can see, Sue Ann is not going nowhere. Shout out to Sue Ann Robinson. She's not going nowhere. So everything that y'all throw at Sue Ann, she's going to counterpunch. She's not going nowhere. Y'all want this to take place in North Carolina. We went over this case, I'm gonna say at least 100 times. We've toured this case inside out. And each time we deal with the case, each time we go over the case, there's always something new that we find out. Is it anybody? Is it anybody that has anything new that can add on to what we didn't know? I remember the last demonstration that I done over here, we revisited Nazia's video. Is it anyone that revisited Nazia's video? Is it anyone that revisited Nazia's video? See, for me, and I'm sure everybody else feel the same way, it's the way how y'all are carrying this. Winter, it's like the FBI, the DOJ. It's like Shanquella Robinson was an animal. It's like she was just a stray animal that got hit by a car. And the motorist just ride over the deceased animal until eventually the deceased animal is no more. And you hear nothing mentioned about the deceased animal, as if Shanquella Robinson was a stray animal that got hit by a car. Like her life don't matter. Like her life don't matter. We went over the autopsy report. Thanks to Nikki Lynn for breaking the autopsy report down. We went over the videos. We went over the attack video. Everybody says that Shanquella did not want to fight. Everybody saw it. Everybody seen it. Everybody heard. Why is it so hard? Why does Shanquella Robinson family have to go through what they're going through to get justice for their daughter? It's a closed, shut case. It's a simple case. I mean, it's like they didn't prioritize the warrant to send the main aggressor to Mexico, but Elise and Winter, they don't want North Carolina to take on the civil lawsuit. They want it to be in Mexico because it's going to be either in Mexico or either in North Carolina. It's going to be in one or the other. You can't get around it. Y'all can't get around the civil lawsuit. But it's sad. It's sad. And I was talking to Miss Parker. Earlier today. And I've spoken with Miss Parker. And I've spoken with many of y'all. I've voiced it on the platform several times about these cases. About these cases with these victims. The way how the justice system treats these victims. So Sue-Ann files for the civil lawsuit to remain in North Carolina. She filed it yesterday. She filed it on Monday, March the 10th. For it to remain in North Carolina. But for them to not be held criminally, and then for them to not to be held on the civil side of things, that's tough. Ms. Groovy says they better pray it stays in North Carolina, because if it goes back to Mexico, they won't make it because they are not built like that for real. And that's what I said. I would rather have it to take place here. Let it take place here. Because you get to Mexico, hey, and you won't be able to dispute that if this judge in North Carolina dismissed the case because it's the wrong jurisdiction. Sue files for it in Mexico. Mexico waiting for y'all. That's what y'all fail to realize. Mexico is waiting for y'all. Mexico is not the USA. All right? Mexico is not the United States of America. Mexico is waiting for y'all. They waiting for an opportunity to get any of y'all over there. I promise you. Even though the warrant is for the main aggressor, they still want everybody that was involved. They just put the warrant for the main aggressor because they already know we get one, we're going to get the rest of them. I believe it was more footage from the villa. They were in Mexico. They had to be cameras in that villa. Appreciate you for subscribing. Appreciate you for subscribing. Make sure everybody makes, I can't pronounce the name, feel welcome. But this case, it's like every time you turn around, here we go again with another twist. Shout out to my folks from Ethiopia. Shout out from my folks from Ethiopia. Appreciate you all for pulling up. We Are the Receipt says, Christ rather die than be judged by man. Can I get everybody to hashtag justice for Shanquella Robinson? Justice for Shanquella Robinson. Going on 3 years. Like, wow. Wow.
Listening to what the so-called investigation was revealing, I thought back to Miss Wanda, Ahmad's mother, who had to take her case to the state attorney's office and had to beg for charges to be pressed in the death of her son. And I remembered Sandra Bland's mother, who had to do the same thing when they told us all that an investigation revealed that her cause of death was suicide. And I think most about in Shanquella's case, because her attack was captured on video, and now we're being told that there isn't going to be an arrest, or there aren't going to be any charges brought. It reminds me of George Floyd and how we were told that while we were watching with our own eyes Derek Chauvin putting his knee on his neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, we were being told that he was having a heart attack and that he was suffering from a drug overdose. So while we're here disappointed, we're not deterred. We're going to continue to press on. We're going to continue to demand that there's a high level of diplomatic intervention in this case, that if the U.S. authorities are now again telling us, oh, well, it's back on Mexico because Mexican authorities have to do something, We don't have a problem with that. We know that we have to carve our own path to justice, and we've been doing that from the very beginning. Um, Mrs. Robinson has demonstrated tremendous strength, and I talk about it all the time, as well as Kula, her sister, having to bury a child, grieve for a child, get through all of that stuff, and then fight for justice for your child at the same time. And then being advised today, well, despite there being a video showing a vicious and brutal attack of your child while she's naked and obviously not fighting back, that there is nothing that can be done in terms of charges being filed by the FBI, that you have to seek your redress and your justice somewhere else. And that's fine. Mrs. Robinson, again, is obviously disappointed, as is all the family at the meeting today. But we're not deterred. We're still going to be marching. We're still going to rally in
Yes,
DC on May 19th, because it shouldn't be that in this country that Black women, Black and brown victims of crime have to do this every time they are victims of crimes. But it is unfortunately what it is. And again, any discrepancies or any issues with respect to Mexican autopsy versus the autopsy conducted by the FBI, all of those things are going to be a result of a delay. And now we're witnessing the result of a delay, which is why there was always a concern, which is why I always say this is the people's case. This is the people's movement that said, hey, there's no reason why a Black woman should go on vacation with her friends, be returned to her family in a box, and nothing be done for 5 months, that the FBI be permitted to sit on their hands, that they be permitted to say, we're working, because justice delayed can be justice denied. We all know that and have seen it time and time again. And so that's why I say, on behalf of the family, again, we're very disappointed, very deeply disappointed. But we're not deterred, because it's something that we've seen before, and we know that we have to carve our own path to justice. Ms. Robinson knew that when she asked me to go on a fact-finding mission to Mexico, that we were obviously in a state of affairs where there's two different justice systems in America. And we know that in ours, we have to fight for our justice. We have to rally for our justice. We have to beg for the same constitutional rights. And Shanquilla is doing that even in death. Even in death, she's having to fight for her rights as a U.S. citizen, as a victim of a crime. The U.S. authorities have to understand and have to know that even if for them it's not about Shanquilla, that United States citizens cannot go to Mexico, commit a crime that we all saw on a video, and then come back to America and say, we're on base, we're safe, we're not going to be charged with a crime. That cannot be the message that the U.S. authorities want to send. So again, discrepancies caused, or discrepancies in the autopsy results between Mexican authorities that we've all been discussing, that we've been discussing, unfortunately, and not being discussed by the right individuals, have all been caused by delays. If it had been taken serious from the very beginning, if the internet and the people and social media didn't have to create the movement behind the case, and the authorities would have gotten involved the minute the video surfaced, there wouldn't have been a delay. There would have been immediate statements taken from the individuals involved. There would have been time to take an immediate autopsy of the body before it was embalmed. All of those things would have been done, but because it was the death of a young, Black, beautiful, brilliant, educated woman who was on vacation, justice was delayed. There was no investigation done. It was not taken seriously until the people had to say, hey, we're not going to accept that this is just what it is. This can't be just what it is. We see with our own eyes an attack, an assault, a crime happening, and nothing's being done. That came from you all. That came from the people saying, we demand answers. And today we actually ended up with way more questions than answers. And so that's why I'm determined and fully aware, and the team, Ben Crump, Tamika Mallory, Until Freedom, Mario Black, all of us, we stand with this family, and we're going to stand with this family till the very end. And we're going to be in Washington, and we're going to rally because we understand, unfortunately, what the job is, what the work is, and that we have to carve our own path to justice in these cases. And we've seen it time and time again. And I've said it in other press conferences. I would like to be put out of this line of business. I don't want to be here on behalf of another beautiful Black family begging for dignity and respect and basic constitutional rights. I don't want to be doing those things. But that is what it is right now. We have two separate justice systems, where one is, if you're a victim of a crime and you look a certain way, it's going to be covered by the media. It's going to be resolved in a certain way. And then we have our cases where we have to have press conferences and rallies, and we have to beg the government to intervene. And that's not okay. And that's why it's the most important work of our time. And so we're disappointed. We're not deterred. We're pressing on. We absolutely will keep you guys updated on everything that we're doing, but we're definitely pushing toward the 200th day to be in DC. We hope that everyone can join us, because the message cannot be that US citizens can go overseas and commit crimes against other US citizens and come back and say that they're on base, that they're safe, that they're not going to be arrested, that there's going to be such a delay in the investigation that the evidence will have time to dissipate and they'll have time to change their stories or work on the evidence. That can't be the message, because this is the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we have US constitutional rights and there's victims' rights, and we're going to fight for that. We're going to fight for that, whether the victim of the crime is Shanquella or whether it's any Black woman. We're going to fight for that because it's deserved. It's our right as US citizens. So I'll have, do you want to speak?
Power to the people. Power to the people. I think Sue Ann said that very well. And shout out to everyone that helped keep Shanquella's name alive. Shout out to everyone that's fighting for the justice for Shanquella Robinson. It was the people. That's how powerful we are. Do we really understand our power? Do we really understand when we come together for one cause? Even though we had different opinions, even though we may have came from different walks of life, none of that mattered. None of that mattered when we stood for justice for Shanquella Robinson. But that's the power of the people. But imagine if we all were on one accord. Even with us bumping heads and trying to take each other's heads off, we still was able to keep Shanquella's name alive. We still was able, and we're still keeping her name alive. And this is why I say to all, we gotta use social media. We gotta use our social media platforms to help raise awareness and help get justice for these victims. It's sad that in the year 2025, that Black people are still being treated the same way Black people was treated 400 years ago in this country. Nothing changed. Nothing changed. Some of y'all might say, but Shank, we got education. We always had education. Shank, we get money. We always had money. I know y'all know the stories of Black Wall Street. All the things that we have been fighting for, we always had it. But it's a shame. It's a shame that 2025, the Black woman is the least protected woman on the face of the earth. It's a shame. It's sad. It's sad, y'all. It's sad. It's sad. I'll drop the link. I'll drop the link if anyone would like to come up. Feel free to come up. And the nerve of Winter Donovan. That's who I'm on. I'm on Winter, y'all. I'm on Winter real heavy. I'm on Winter Donovan real heavy. The nonchalant attitude, the whole nasty attitude. Dejanay changing her name. Talk to me, Nikki.
Hey, Shank. Hey, Rock Squad. Sorry, I got a cold, y'all. My throat is killing me. A baby got me sick. But this what I was trying to say in the chat. I just got a few things to point out, so I'm not gonna stay up here long. But basically, I was saying, can you hear me?
Yeah, you good. You good. You good.
Okay. I was saying a few things that I wanted to point out. First of all, like they fled Mexico to try and circumvent justice. That's the first thing. But they fled to the United States. And then, per the treaty, the crimes that they're being charged with, or the things that they're being charged with or accused of, let me say that word, accused of in the United States, because we understand that the United States could have taken on concurrent jurisdiction, but at this time they choose not to prosecute. But per the treaty, Mexico cannot charge the other five with those crimes like obstruction of justice, accessory. They can only charge them with the bigger crimes. So, to answer one part of your question, can they file a civil suit in Mexico? As of yet, I haven't seen the treaty address anything civilly. That's not to say that they can't file, that a civil suit can't be filed in Mexico. I'm sure that it can. But my point is, if the other Cabo five can't be charged criminally per the treaty, then it would seem to me that sorry, my throat hurt, to try and charge them civilly in Mexico, that the lawsuit would fall flat. That's the first part of it. The second part, we have to understand that what they're being accused of civilly here in the US, half of those crimes, if not more, they did do in the US. And just to point out a few, first of all, let's start with recording the video. Of course, that happened in Mexico, but they circulated it. And when they circulated it, they sent it back to friends of theirs in the United States. That's the first thing. That's part of the civil lawsuit. They started the lie in Mexico, which of course caused Miss Salamandra harm and grief. But they continued that lie in the United States. They took Shanquilla's property back to her. They went to her home. They continued to lie in her face. They continued to escalate that lie and continued to cause Miss Salamandra and the family more grief. That's also part of the civil lawsuit here in the United States. So a lot of what they're being charged with occurred here on U.S. soil. They also are charged with obstructing justice. They communicated with one another to obstruct justice. They talked about how the autopsy would come back to haunt them, how it would, may, get them in trouble here in the US, cause them criminal charges, and they all got together and sought to try to obstruct justice and keep that from coming down. And that happened here in the United States. All that's part of the civil lawsuit. So again, to say that this is an improper venue for them to be charged in, I think they're just throwing shit against the wall to see what sticks. Also, the civil lawsuit isn't just suing them, it's addressing the actions of the FBI or the inactions of the FBI and the DOJ. And their actions absolutely, if not half, mostly all of it occurred here. Their investigation took place in the United States. And it wouldn't make sense to try and sue or to separate this lawsuit and sue half of them here in the United States and the other half in Mexico. So this is a group lawsuit where they're suing the FBI, the DOJ, and the Cabo Six, and it's all grouped together. So again, I think Winter and Elise asking to have this dismissed for improper venue is just throwing stuff out there to see what sticks. Again, I'm not saying it can't be filed in Mexico. I'm just thinking they hoping they can throw that out there and get away with it. But my point is, they already fled Mexico to circumvent justice. Why should they be allowed to do it here? And I see what you're saying, Kobina, but I was basically trying to point out the crimes that they committed here in the United States because they're asking that the lawsuit be filed in Mexico because they're saying that's where the crime took place. But I'm saying per the civil lawsuit, half of what they're accused of doing or not doing took place in the United States. So I was just merely pointing out the things that took place that we know took place in the United States. And I couldn't put all that in the chat. Shank.
You good, you good. And that's what the family, the attorneys, that's what most of us are saying. Like, look, we know that being able to convict all of them on the unaliving of her is going to probably not happen. But what we're saying is charge them for what they are responsible for. That's all we're saying.
Exactly. I think it's interesting that Elise and Winter have hired the same attorney to represent them. In most cases, when you're co-defendants, that's not a good idea. The fact that they did that makes me believe that they got each other's back through this thick and thin. They're not going to say something against the other. They're not going to turn on each other because their attorney works for both of them. So I found that very interesting that they would hire the exact same attorney. It's a conflict of interest in any criminal matter.
Exactly.
The office of public defender can't even represent co-defendants. So
Exactly.
that's interesting that they did that. But
And to me, I'm with you as far as they just throwing ish on the wall to see what sticks. They playing checkers. Winter
mhm.
and Elise is playing checkers. And this is my opinion, Nikki. You could build with me or not. My opinion, like you said, it's interesting that they got the same attorney. They hired the same attorney, which means that they got each other's back. However, when it gets, when it comes down to it going to trial, do you think that they will still have each other's back?
They have to. If if you're my attorney and me and Squeak are co-defendants and you represent both of us, you can't get up there and turn on either me or Squeak. You represent both of us legally. You can't throw either one of us under the bus to help the other. So we're in this together. You understand what I'm saying? It's like
Yes,
me and
ma'am.
Squeak obviously took an oath to not speak against the other. And you understand that if you're going to stand there and represent both of us. So they lie together, they go down together, they tell the truth together. I don't know what the plan is, but whatever it is, they're planning to do it together. I see Marty's comment addressing we are the receipts, and you're absolutely right, Marty. If we had proof that it was planned in the US, that would be new evidence that the US could go on. I don't think that's been proved because, right, Kobina, because in any other case, all five of us or six of us being co-defendants, we have different attorneys. It's your attorney's job to get you off. Screw the other co-defendant. So, Shank, if you're representing me and Squeak and Kobina is the co-defendant, you can place the blame on Kobina. You can say, look, Kobina might have did XYZ, but Nikki and Squeak didn't have no parts of that because it's your job to represent us. You don't have to look out for the best interests of Kobina and so forth and any others. So it's just really interesting to me that they did this because it means that they are in this together till the end. It's not saying they ain't gonna turn on the other ones. It's not saying they will, but it's interesting that they hired the same attorney. Good point, James. Although if I was Malik, James said he wouldn't be surprised if Dejanay and Malik did the same thing. The odd one out being Isaiah. That's a good point. But to be quite honest, I'm just speaking my own opinion. If I was any of the other Cabo members, I wouldn't jump on Dejanay's sinking ship. And you guys know I refuse to address her as Imani. I'm not going to give her that respect. She's a M. She committed a crime. I don't care what she wants to call herself. I'm going to call her what she is. Um, that being said, I wouldn't jump on no ship with her. I wouldn't hire the same attorney as her. Um, because I don't want to go down on her ship. At this moment, she's the only one who has a warrant out for her arrest. Although all the rest of them are being sued civilly, she's the only one that has a warrant out for her arrest. So, to be quite honest, I would cover my ass. I wouldn't jump on her ship. Thank you, James. Although I sound like a robot tonight. Thanks, Corbina. So anyway, that's all I had to say, Shank. If nobody has a question, I'm gonna drop down. My voice is killing me.
Okay, Nikki, appreciate you.
Thanks.
Let me grab a few comments. Give me a minute, y'all. James says, I respect your opinions, Nikki. I'm with you on that, Nikki. Marty says, we ought to receive. I listened Shanquilla recordings. What did she say? What evidence did she say about the planning in Charlotte? We have all these bloggers covering it. Then stop. Salute, Miss Wish. I see you, Miss Wish. Define place to blame on the I don't want to prove that we are not guilty. Salute Eye of the Storm. Salute Eye of the Storm. My bad. It'll be your job to prove us not guilty. You're not defending anyone else but us. Salute Squeak. Eye of the Storm, you need to contact me. Okay, that's Marty. Salute D Money. Salute D Money. Shanquilla did not know what was going on, correct? So, just a brief summary of it. We don't know whether or not Shanquilla knew what she was walking into. Mouse says, it sounds to me like that mouse is watching the cat. I don't believe Shanquilla knew what she was walking into. I don't believe. Some of y'all believe that it was planned, but I don't think any of us believe that Shanquilla knew what she was walking in on. My belief is if she knew what she was walking into, she would have been prepared, or she just wouldn't have went. I mean, who goes out of the country knowing that these people that you're meeting up with is going to attack you? Now, what has came out in as far as what it was over was that Shanquilla dropped a glass that she was drinking on. It bust, and Dejanay cut her foot. Her and Shanquilla began to argue. Some punches was thrown. Kalia stepped in, broke it up. Dejanay, upset, angry, contacted her boyfriend, who was back home in the States. She couldn't get through to her boyfriend. Later on in the morning, the boyfriend seen the missed calls from Dejanay. He tried to contact Dejanay. He couldn't get through to Dejanay. He contacted the friends, Elise, Winter. He was able to get, I believe, Elise. Can't remember. Drop it in the chat who it is that he contacted. However, it was either Elise or Winter that he contacted. They got Dejanay up. Dejanay told him what happened. The boyfriend told Dejanay, go handle your business. Whip that be you know what. Shanquilla don't want to fight. Look, it's your birthday. You got that. So in the attack video, which I still question, but in the attack video, that's why Shanquella didn't fight back. When you hear the gentleman's voice, Shanquella, you could at least fight back. She says no, because she had already told Dejanay, look, it's your birthday, handle your business. She ain't think that she was going to lose her life. Now, if y'all want to bring everything back on the table, if y'all want to chop it up again, we got about 20 minutes to chop it up. Out of Storm says, I don't think that could have happened with We Got Our First Body narrative, nor the game with the You Skipped Arm days. This whole new story is supposed to justify her being attacked. I still believe that it was something that happened in the spur of the moment. However, Miss Salamandra, she did give Shanquella's phone with over 400 text messages. She did give that phone to the FBI. What was those text messages? I don't know. Sabrina says Shanquella sounded more excited and happier that night than the others. Shanquella was really full of life. James says, what's been bothering me for 3 years? Shanquella said no. Why she want to fight me? Squeak says Shank 100. So for me, that's what I'm focusing on. What were those 400 messages about? I don't know. But I'm sure that it indicated something that could link them to attacking Shanquella. Don't know. Maybe like most of y'all do believe that it was planned in North Carolina. Most of y'all. So I got, for those that believe that it was planned before they already left, drop a 1. If you think that it was planned before they left, if you think that it was planned in Charlotte, North Carolina, drop a 1. And I gotta honestly say, possibility. Salute, Miss Belinda. I see you, Miss Belinda. There's a lot of things. LaDawn dropped the 1. Salute, LaDawn. We Are the Receipts dropped the 1. Like I said, those 400 messages. And it for me, it makes you think that they did plan this. They planned something. Or it could have been that Shanquella knew something that the people were saying in the very beginning was that they already had animosity. They were going on a trip for Kalia, and that's why Kalia brought Shanquella. They was going to get over to Mexico, and they were going to iron out whatever differences that they had. And I have to say, strong possibility. Strong possibility that maybe some things was in the air between them. And that's why they went. Shank, Khalid was to bring Shanquella on a trip, and so they could go ahead and iron out whatever issues they had already in North Carolina. But we're waiting patiently we're waiting patiently for that day that we really find out what really took place. And even if we don't find out, even if the public don't find out, Shanquilla's family, they deserve to find out what happened. And not only do they deserve to find out what happened, they deserve justice for Shanquilla Robinson. And Shanquilla Robinson deserved justice. You don't do that. You just not, man. You don't do no stuff like that, man. Joya says we leaving Joya out because she the only reason why Shanquilla went, because she supposedly had something else to do. We've heard that as well, Top Flight. Why didn't Joya go? And then why did Elise go and her sister? Why did Elise go? What was it? The next day after her sister was deceased? I can't remember, y'all. But why did she go knowing that she just lost her sister? Eye of the Storm says, wonder if Sue-Ann looked at the messages or if she instructed her to give to the FBI. Also, as good as she is, Sue-Ann Robinson, she know how those text messages help their case. Good question. Good point, Eye of the Storm. Good point. Tina says, I think Joya know what was going to happen, the reason she backed out. And many people say that. Many people say Joya knew what was going to go down. That's why Joya backed out. Elise knew what was going to go down. That's why Elise went. So those that feel like it was planned, they got a strong case. Okay, the same day. Okay. Marty says, I thought she found out about her still doing her flight. I may be wrong, but I thought that's what I saw. I do know that Elise was already home when her sister passed away. I do know that she was already home. But Top Flight says the same day. I think it was, she found out early on that day. I'm not sure the timestamps, but she did know. I do know, Marty, that Elise did know about her sister passing away before she left for Mexico. Nikki says, I reviewed the files released by the FBI, albeit it very little. I know I messed that up. And I'm even more convinced the FBI deliberately threw the case. And I've said that from the very beginning with the demonstrations, the FBI is running a dope fiend move. I've been around dope fiends all my life. I know a dope fiend move when I see a dope fiend move. They deliberately threw it. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. In the very beginning, Sue-Ann said, FBI, Mexico playing ping pong. But as everything played out, Mexico, they started out dropping the ball, but as it played out, Mexico was on point. But I'm with you, Nick. FBI deliberately threw it, ran a dope fiend move. They ran a dope fiend move. Salute, Leslie. All your so-called friends was broke and canceling, so y'all take it out on the one who comes last minute, pays for two, and wanted the big room. They was barefoot and the attack stepped on glass. Yeah, FBI ran a dope fiend move, y'all. I would like to hear what all of them have to say under oath. I told y'all that the FBI didn't investigate this case. Don't forget, these were college friends. They lied to Mr. Bernard. Mr. Bernard said that the FBI insured him that his sister would, that his daughter would get justice. And he put his faith, he put his trust in the FBI. Because when we first got the case, majority of us knew, all right, Mexico fumbled the ball, Mexico dropped the ball, all right, the FBI got it. I was one of the main ones. Pumping the FBI. Look, the FBI, man, they get down as this, they get down as that. I'm telling y'all, the FBI going, lock them up. So I was one of the ones that was pumping my fist until this conference right here, until the FBI came back and said they wasn't going to prosecute none of them because they agreed. They said that Shanquella agreed to fight. When that happened, that's when I saw the Dauphin move that the FBI was running, y'all. The FBI is sad. It's sad, y'all, that the FBI. Now, it's one thing. It's one thing that the FBI was behind some of our great Black freedom fighters' death and incarceration. Then it's another thing that the FBI was behind the Black communities being flooded with dope and guns. The FBI was behind all of that, y'all. And we see that the FBI is behind Shanquella Robinson's not getting justice, along with other Black people's death and hindering them from getting justice. The FBI has a track record of not giving a damn about Black people. This is our FBI. This is the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They have a track record of not giving a damn about Black people in this country. I'm going to grab these few comments and we're going to get out of here. You get recruited by the government from last year of high school through college. Yep, you sure was. Yes, they have told so many different stories to what happened. Military or a 3-letter agency. They investigated the case, but for some reason, they dropped the ball. Yes, sir. Cover up. No means no. I appreciate everybody for pulling up. Salute. I will leave the chat running and y'all can hang around, y'all.
Okay. Do you want to speak?
When you mentioned a delay, is there any kind of evidence you can share that was shared with you all to the reason why the government DOJ said they?
Sure. I said there was a delay, meaning that the video was released on November 16th. So we were advised today that the U.S. authorities didn't begin an investigation until after their own autopsy had been conducted, which would have been well after the video came out. And really the bigger issue is that without the video, before the video even came out, if you all remember, there was a statement released saying no foul play. Before any evidence was even entered, there was a statement made saying, oh, there's no foul play. That statement was never retracted, but because the case was never taken seriously from the beginning, that caused the delay. That caused Mexico to have to do their own autopsy, then the FBI to have to wait for the Robinson family to have the body transported. All of these things should have been done by U.S. federal authorities if they took the case seriously from the beginning, but it wasn't taken seriously from the beginning. The people had to move the case. We had to demand that the case be taken seriously. And those delays are going to cause discrepancies in an investigation. We all watched First 48, know that that time when you're investigating a murder or homicide or any crime, that you have to investigate swiftly. We saw it with the kidnapping case in Mexico. Immediately, the FBI said $50,000 reward. We're moving in. We're coordinating with the Mexican authorities. There was no swift action on this case. There was absolutely no urgency on the part of the U.S. authorities. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I guess what discrepancy? Were there any discrepancies that they told you as far as like the Mexican autopsy?
Oh, okay, sure. So
That you can reveal.
yeah, absolutely, because it's going to be revealed. It's going to be the feds are going to release their results of their autopsy, which was done after the body was embalmed and then transported. And they're advising that there isn't a spinal cord injury, that the Mexican autopsy says there's a spinal cord injury, but according to them, there is no spinal cord injury. They're also advising that there's swelling on Shanquilla's brain, but that her cause of death is undetermined. So to me, if you are in an investigation, how are you closing an investigation on a case where the cause of death is undetermined, but we all have seen a video showing a brutal attack? That doesn't, it's not giving undetermined. It's giving there's a video and now you're telling us something else, not to believe our own eyes, which is why I invoked George Floyd's case, which is why I said, you know, that was a case where we were being told, don't believe your own eyes. Don't believe that Derek Chauvin has his knee on his neck for 8 minutes. Believe that it's really a heart palpitation or he's having some sort of drug overdose. We see the video. We see what happened. We see that she's being beaten, but we're being told that, oh, the cause of death is undetermined. And that can happen if the autopsies are delayed. That can happen.
So there was an arrest warrant out of Mexico. How does the FBI statement today impact that arrest warrant? And did they give you any indication that they will extradite the people who were on that trip with Shanquilla?
Right. They've indicated that that basically what they're doing is what I've talked about from the beginning, which is ping-ponging. The FBI today said, well, we're not going to press charges, but Mexico could do something if they want to do. And if Mexico wants to do something, then it's no problem. We'll be fully cooperative with anything that Mexico wants to do. So again, as you all know, I went to Mexico and Mexico said, we've sent everything over to Interpol. We've sent everything to FBI. We've sent all of our documents. We're just awaiting word from U.S. authorities on what needs to be done next. So there's a Department of International Affairs, the Department of State, obviously, who we've contacted and sent a letter to, and they know what needs to be done. And that's what's so frustrating about the case, because it's not something that's without precedence or without a protocol. And so for the United States government and for the FBI today to sit and tell myself, Mrs. Robinson, Quilla, and Mr. Robinson, that there's nothing to be done on their end, they're closing their investigation, and I guess Mexico could do something if they want to, is absolutely absurd. Not just for Shanquilla's case, though. It's not absurd just for her case. It's absurd for any person who would be a victim of a crime overseas committed by a U.S. citizen. How can you just say, okay, well, as long as we make it back home, we're not going to get in trouble? That makes no sense.